Hi, I'm Heather. I'm a mother of one. My son's named Malachi and he's 12 and he's just started senior school.
Well, my name is Juliet. I'm a mother of one son, aged 8 years old.
First of all, we'd like to ask, do you think we're seeing more aggressive behaviour being displayed by children these days? And why do you think this is?
We are definitely seeing more aggressive behaviour. Just through media, television, videos, the way that children interact together is just a whole more aggressive nature than it was, let's say, 20 years ago when I was younger. We had more respect for our parents then. There was just a different level of the attention you paid to elders than there is now in the community.
Juliet, what do you think?
I think I agree with Heather, just from the sort of media level. I think there's more sort of more images or more stories around sort of aggression in children, and I think also from a practice point of view, I work with children and families, and I've been working since 2003. So I can clearly say that in my practice, the idea of aggression, violence, all that things seems to be escalating, certainly.
Okay.
And also in the cultural boundaries that we may have had, say, 20, 30 years ago, children were taught that you respected your elders, you listened to your elders, and that could be any elder. It didn't have to be necessarily your parent, it could be your parent's friend, an elder on the street. You knew that if you were out, you were supposed to behave yourself and conduct yourself in a certain way, because any elder could discipline you or tell your parents. Nowadays, for my personal opinion, there has been too many younger parents having children that decide to make their children their friends rather than find that boundary of parent and child. So they don't instill the same standards of behaviour that we had when I was younger. And that's why I think a lot of children think they can behave in any way, anywhere they are, and they have no respect for anybody.
Okay. As we all know, children are usually very heavily influenced by their peer group. Do you think that there are any differences in the way peer groups behave amongst children? Are they more aggressive now? What, for example, do you think is the influence perhaps of gangs? Is that something that's in your experience?
Not from my personal experience with my child, but for children around my child and other parents I know that have children that have been initiated into gangs. Yeah, there's a lot of peer pressure for that.
So you're aware of that?
Yeah, because if the children don't want to join, then they're isolated and picked on. So that is why they will join, not necessarily because they want to, but they just feel it's a safer option, rather than to be the individual that's on the outside of that.
Julia?
I don't have any personal experience, but as Heather said, children will, their friends are quite important, and influential when they're growing up. So I think that if whatever the group is, be it gangs or whatever their association is, if it's football or sport, I think that would be a very, very strong one. So if it's gangs, then of course it will be a very sort of strong influence and sort of something that will draw the others that are more sort of less resilient, if I can use that word.
Okay.
Yes.
Have either of you experienced a situation where an aggressive child has been violent towards you personally?
Thankfully, no. For me, no.
Thankfully not.
But anyone in your experience, friends or anyone you know, has had problems with a child behaving aggressively?
I know people that have said they have their own children that have become aggressive towards them and actually show quite a level of violence towards them. And they talk about it because they don't know what to do, because their own child, they don't understand how this child has changed from their lovely little Johnny to this ogre that they have now. And they're finding it really, really difficult.
Do you know how they've been dealing with the situation?
Some of them have approached, because one of my friends, her child has been excluded from 3 or 4 schools now for his behaviour. He went to an out-of-schools unit to try and to make sure he stayed in the system of learning, and hopefully to try and tackle the aggression, the temper. In the end, she sent him away to Jamaica. to go and live with his grandparents for a while, to keep away from the group he was with, that kind of peer pressure, but they couldn't cope, so he came back, and now he's just walking the streets.